Everybody is, all thought is broken up into bits, like this nation, this country, this industry, this profession, and so on, as they can't meet, right? And it's extremely hard to break into that. Now, the second, but that comes about primarily because thought has developed traditionally in a way such that it claims not to be affecting anything, but just telling you the way things are. Therefore, people cannot see that they are creating a problem and then apparently trying to solve it. That is, see, let's take the problem. What problem do you like? Pollution, or the ecology. See, the ecology is not in itself a problem. It works perfectly well by itself. It's due to us, right? It's a problem because we are thinking in a certain way by breaking everything up, and each person's doing his own thing, right? Now, therefore, the ecological problem is due to thought, right? But thought thinks it is a problem out there, and I must solve it. Now, that doesn't make sense because simultaneously, thought is doing all the activities which make the problem, and then does another set of activities to try to overcome it. You see, it doesn't stop doing the things which are making the ecological problem, or the national problem, or whatever the problem is.
I tried to measure a little shore over around 200 times, and I never reached to measure the reality of the coastline. In fact, I reached only the understanding that what I was actually measuring was defining myself more than actually what I was trying to define, that it was defining more the tools that I was using than the coastline that I was trying to encapsulate.
So the first thing we have to do in the long run is to look at our whole way of thinking, which has developed over so many thousands of years. I don't think it was the original way of thinking of the human race at all, but for many complex reasons it came about. Now, that means that people have to make they have to participate, to make a cooperative effort, to have a dialogue, a real dialogue in which we will not merely exchange opinions, but actually listen deeply to the views of other people without resistance. And we cannot do this if we hold to our own opinion and resist the other. It doesn't mean we should accept the other, but we have to be able to look at all the opinions as suspended, as it were, in front of us without carrying them out, without suppressing them. I think science has begun to replace religion as the major source of the worldview. And therefore, if science takes a fragmentary worldview, it will have a profound effect on consciousness. Well, science is whatever people make of it. You see, science has changed over the ages, and it's different now from a few hundred years ago, and it could be different again. Now, there's no intrinsic reason why science must necessarily be measurement. This is another historical development which has come about over the past few centuries. It's entirely contingent and not absolutely necessary. If we can have a coherent approach to reality, then reality will respond coherently to us. But nature has been tremendously affected by our way of thinking on the earth. Nature is now being destroyed. There's very little left on the earth which wasn't affected by how we were thinking. The earth is one household, really. Yeah. We're not treating it that way, right? So that's the first step in economics, is to say the earth is one household and all that it depends on. It's all one, you see. So now the implicate order would help us to see that, to see everything enfolds everything. That everybody not merely depends on everybody, but actually everybody is everybody in a deeper sense. We are internally related to everything, yes, not externally related. Consciousness is an internal relationship to the whole. We take in the whole and we act toward the whole. And that internal, whatever we have taken in, determines basically what we are. But the major source of unhappiness is that we are incoherent and therefore producing results that we don't really want. And then trying to overcome them while we keep on producing them. The question is, what is the real origin of consciousness?
That's exactly the case. Where did it come from? Was there a time when there was no consciousness?
Well, I don't think it originates in time. You see, I think it's a potential of the whole universe. That wholeness will arise between us all in participation rather than separately. The wholeness is an attitude or an approach, but it can be given a scientific realization, you see. Because of relativity and quantum theory, we can, if we wish, look on the world as a whole. See, I began more or less accepting the ideas of Niels Bohr. I wrote a book called Quantum Theory based on that, and I was feeling that the question really was, what is the nature of reality? You see.
Hello, everybody. Welcome today as the first video of the series of CCC, called Creaties. My name is Joan, and today we have a good friend of mine. It's Aya Bentur. Hello, Aya. So Aya is actually head of design at Nick Academy, an educational application, and lecturer at the master degree program in design at Bezalel. She defines herself as an experienced designer and creative lead, researching body gestures as an integral part of the physical and digital experiences. Is that okay, Aya?
Yeah. Long but good.
It's a bit long but good. I think it's quite clear. As long as I know you, you've been researching body gestures as an integral part. We know for a long time now, Aya, actually. It's been a long time. When did we miss? How much?
I don't know. 2012?
Yeah. Now it's, I don't know, 2023. So it's been 11 years. What can you tell us about the first time we met? How you remember those times, actually?
Well, I don't really remember like the specific time we met. I remember like the experience as a whole and meeting everyone as a group. I think we all met in the social design masters in Eindhoven, and we actually met a bit before because there was a bit of a mess with the program and the head of the department resigning, and we all kind of came together and started talking before we had even met. So I think
that was nice. That was a very nice process.
Yeah, and then by the time we actually met and everything calmed down, we already knew each other. So we started the year as a group of almost friends, I think.
Yeah, I think so. I think you could say that at least we had a lot of respect for what happened, actually. And do you think that, because I remember
at least for me, at least those times were very naive in terms of design, let's say. How you see any change on how you perceive design from then and now?
I mean, in some ways, not at all. In some ways, very much, I guess. I think my bachelor's in jewelry, I kind of understood that I wasn't actually doing jewelry. I was doing other things like eyewear and shoes. And I realized that what I do or how I do things is more of an approach than a discipline. So I considered myself a jewelry maker, but I was never making jewelry. And I think that somehow kind of trickled down to how I saw the social design program. It was more of an approach than a discipline, and that kind of started this practice or a trajectory for me. And I think also part of it was from the part of where I come from, jewelry making, was this realization that even if I talk about systems or big things, that's always about the details for me, and that's how I came to research and obsess basically about justice.
Yeah, but I think that it's very nice because since I know you, so since then, since 2012, you kept that very close to you and to all the projects you've done. Actually, I think that that's very, I don't know, it's coherent and it's very, I don't know, I don't have that. I mean, I don't have a line that you can tell so easily these kind of things, and I think that it's very valuable also. So, did that, how that defined your approach actually?
I think sometimes it was really coherent, but sometimes not at all. I mean, I I I think looking back, there's moments or jobs that I saw them as secondary to my practice. Some that I took mainly to make a living, and somehow they became more dominant or influenced more my path than actually things that I thought were my central practice. So it somehow gestures was always around
Yeah,
there, but it took different forms, I think.
but since I mean different forms, yes. But since I know you, you've been working as a aware designer. You've been a teacher, of course, in design. You now work with educational. You did projects for institutions like the Jerusalem Design Week. You did projects with a lot of people, but it's always something that it's relevant. And I want to point out that one of the references that you sent to me, it's also like, it's also very much about that actually. I mean, it's the work of sorry, I'm not sure I will be able to pronounce her name properly, but it's Ella Rothschild, I guess. How do you say her name?
Rothschild or Rothschild,
Okay.
depends which language.
So I asked you for a reference that was outside design. Why did you choose her?
Well, Ella is, first of all, she's a friend and very, very talented choreographer. I had the pleasure of working with her on a project together with Billy Regev, which is also my partner in many, many crimes. And I think her approach to choreography is always like stretching the boundaries of the discipline. And her work is very much about the body, obviously, but she always brings in objects and interactions, and is kind of like touching same topics that I do, but from the exact opposite perspective, maybe.
I have here the video of Summer Snow, so maybe we can see it. Honest, see a lot of similarities. But maybe that's because I know you. But I remember.
In what way?
I mean, I remember this video. You might not see it because you don't see the stream, but it's of the still walking video that you did, for example. So there was and you did it in collaboration with other people, of course, but with Sophie specifically, I think it was. Am I wrong?
Yeah.
And where? And I don't remember where it was.
It was in Ljubljana,
the Via 50, right? And I think that you were like going towards. I mean, the work that you did with Sophie also involved at certain point in the exhibition of fragments of going fiction, the Hat project. So you had objects and sort of like movement, and then after you did this project, if I'm not wrong, and it had some of choreography. So what does choreography brings to you and to practice? How do you think about it?
Well, I think anything to do with body movement I find really interesting. But I think what I am interested in choreography is the informal choreography. It's the unplanned. It's the way we move when we don't think, as opposed to an actual performance that is thought out and planned in practice.
Because when I remember, I really like this exercise that you did in Ljubljana. I don't know how you come to these kind of ideas, or what is the process that is behind? Is there any kind of process? Do you have it? You don't?
God, that was so long ago.
Yes, it is. I mean, you can take it in a general way. I mean, it doesn't need to be about this one.
Okay, I think, well, in Ljubljana, it was about looking at the city and how people move within the city as groups and as individuals. So we collaborated with a dance school there, and we gave them some basic instructions that they worked with and around. So at times they had to walk as a mass of people, sometimes as individuals, sometimes they had to disrupt, and sometimes they had to move along together, but not in like coordinated way. So that was a really, really nice experience, and it was really interesting to see what they did with it, and it was really interesting to see how people participated, even if they didn't plan to.
So basically, you just gave sort of notions, and they develop it, or you just told them exactly what to do?
No, we gave like notions or like minimal instructions, and they did their interpretation of it, but in real time. It wasn't planned or rehearsed. But like another project I did with Billy and Ella, it was called Unfearing, and it was about the mechanisms we have in our body when we're afraid, so the fight, flight, freeze mechanisms. And that process was a bit different because what we did was we collected movements. So we watched like videos and took out these like really small parts of people in moments of fight, flight, or freeze mechanism. And then this archive of gestures we gave to Ella, and she choreographed a dance out of it. And the idea was to kind of take control of these actions that happen even if you don't want to. It's not something you think or you plan to do. It's just like a bodily reaction. So when you dance intentionally, you kind of take control over the uncontrolled.
Because this work, it also, like we are seeing the video now that, well, actually the part of the choreographic part that Ella actually did, but this video was, as you said, as a compendium. So it was a way to research these body movements. How do you collect this information? What do you do? Like, do you just ask people?
The first, which part? The research part of the collecting gestures?
The research part.
So we just started watching movies, videos, anything we find, and started taking pieces out of it. But that's like, I mean, every time we do a project about gestures, I think we approach it differently. And now we're working on another project, which again, it has to do with gestures, but in a completely different way. And this time it's about food.
Yes, I like food. We'll talk about food.
But then in this project, we actually go into people's home and we film them and conduct interviews in between the recordings and analyze gestures and body movements and states of mind while preparing couscous.
And just to understand the context, so you do these projects because you want to do them, of course, but do you have a context? They occur just naturally because you want it, or how does that happen?
The last one specifically is we're working on it towards an exhibition that will be in next month. No, a couple of months in May in the Design Museum in Holon. It's an exhibition about food and design. And we
Not food
set
design.
to food and design. I don't think we have an actual title for the exhibition yet. But anyway, the process of it was also really, really nice because Leo Rosine and Dana Ben Shalom, they're the curators. They created this process of bringing a group of designers, not just designers, also photographers together and working together. I mean, everyone had their own project, but we created this kind of monthly meetings that we would go on excursions and then explore things and like a discussion group. So it's really nice to work together. And specifically in this project, Billy and I set to create an archive of couscous gestures. Couscous is like a very, very simple, basic food to make, and at the same time, it has a lot of emotional and traditional weight in for different families and different reasons. But what was really nice is to see like the what happens to people when they make couscous and
Yeah, I remember the last time I was there with you. You explained it to me, and you explained how almost people were almost through the memory of making, almost crying, which is something beautiful actually for to relate something like that to food.
It was really, really moving. I think we thought it would be much more of a technical archive, not technical, but it would be more about the body movement and became much more about the stories, which is really nice.
Because when I ask you, as I explained you before entering to the stream, caldo de cultivo, it is somehow dealing with food, even if it's not, but caldo, it's food. And I asked you, what is your favorite meal? And your answer was anything that involves together, or my late grandma was congus. So you like cooking together. Is that part of your...
My best memory of our time together is cooking together. That's
I agree.
Most of the time in between studying, we cooked together. And I think we really kind of, I don't know, correct me if I'm wrong, but we had this like community around our house and around our kitchen. And I think it was really special.
I agree. I think that it's also like, it's these moments when you're together that the conversation sprout and food is something that everybody enjoys, or everybody enjoys even not cooking, but at least eating. And we did a very good job in that, actually. I mean, everybody was coming to our house to actually eat something. And it was then where we started like Fictional Collective in a food meeting also. So food has a relevance, actually.
Yeah, and I think what's also really special that, this kind of feeling that you appreciate things only like years after. At that time, like cooking together, we appreciated the fully. I mean, we were kind of like completely into it, and like the dynamics between people moving around in the kitchen and the group outside, and it was all it was really, I think, like being in the moment.
And I have to say that we've been talking for a long time that we actually will do a project on cooking also. So I will remind you about that.
What should we do?
I don't know. I think that I mean, I don't do couscous, so you cannot record me doing couscous. But I would definitely love to do something in cooking. But for that, we have to gather a bit longer. I mean, we have to be together a bit more. I wanted to ask you
That's true.
because there's food, there's something. So you're recording food. Uh, do you record people eating, or is the process of making what is more interesting to you?
It's the process of making. Um, It actually, if we go back to my answer about food, so the second part of it was it's like my grandmother's couscous. So I think this project kind of originated from this memory of my grandmother making couscous and like the gold bracelets on her hand, like hitting I don't know what it's called in English. I can bring it.
I don't know. Yeah, bring it, bring it.
Okay.
No worries. So Aya and I, as we said, we know each other. We lived together for at least 3 years in Eindhoven, where we were living in Eindhoven to study in design academy. And I wanted to bring her because basically we have a common thread on food, but also on how we see the social experience of cooking. And and she's been working on that for a long time, and I appreciate a lot the care that she puts on it. So I would definitely welcome you to look at this. Ah, I don't know how you call that in English. I'm sorry.
So after you mix like the semolina with water and oil, you pass it through. So you have to like press against this part, and then there's like and then the bracelets hitting. So that's like this memory that follows me, and I think it was kind of like also my attempt to take this role on myself and be like the couscous maker of the family, because that position was never filled after she died. But I'm not there yet.
Well, I think that it's for what you told me, it is simple, but at the same time, it has a lot of complications. I mean, you have to pass it 3 times or 4 times whatsoever, and
It's like really simple but a really elaborate process that has like multiple stages. Where did you go? So it it seems complicated, but it's just about doing something over and over again. So you pass it through this,
in
and
Catalan
then
we
you
call it sadas. I don't know how you call it in English.
I know in Hebrew, but you have to do this like, and then you put it on the pot, and the missing words again.
Your English, Aya, is very bad, huh?
My amazing because it's like my cooking words.
Yeah, but those are very related to your own mother tongue, so it's
It's
very
true.
difficult. I mean, for me at least, design is very related to English. Let's say I have a hard
Yeah.
time talking about design in Catalan or in Spanish,
Same.
and and cooking is also Catalan. So life is like that.
Yeah, it's like the only moments that I actually relate to my language.
It's the only moment that you relate to your language.
Well, not the only, but I feel comfortable in English, especially working. Um, yeah, so I think maybe anger and cooking.
That always works best, huh?
That's expressed best in Hebrew.
But so you've been saying that you're doing a lot of projects and most of them are in collaboration. And one of the things that I asked you was how where is the moment where you feel more comfortable and more creative? And you just asked your answer was actually like on moments of dialogue and cozy, comfortable dialogue. So can you elaborate on that?
Well, first, my favorite person to work with is Billy, and it's always fun to work with her. It's always
But she's a fun
and
person.
yeah, and it makes everything easier. I mean, even when we don't agree, it's always like a good, positive, productive discussion. And then like when I think of the times we work together as a collective, or the four of us in Jerusalem Design Week, it's like these moments that it takes longer sometimes to have a discussion with four people, but at the same time, so much more can come out of it. Even if nothing comes out of it, you feel like you've gained something.
Yes, indeed. So, okay, if you would do a project by yourself, then how you would actually engage with it? Or how do you engage with it? Because actually you work as a creative, so.
But also, I mean, my job, I work in a group. It's
Okay.
always in a group.
It's always at a group.
Yeah, it's been a long time since I've done something like completely independently.
Okay.
Even I'm trying to think like curated an exhibition, but it was still part of a bigger exhibition, and it's always in dialogue. I think it's never really me alone.
Nice. I mean, I have a fear of working alone also, so I tend to collaborate with people. I think that also enriches you much more in the discussion. But to be honest, in the creative process, I tend to annihilate myself a bit in that sense. So how do you approach, like, because I have a conversation within my head, let's say, so that's two, me out loud and me inside my head. So how do you start a conversation with somebody that it's not exactly you, that might not know you? So
Well, I think it might be a bit of a cliche, but first you have to get to know each other. So the first moments are not actually about work, but getting to know your values, your motivations, what interests you, and then you start to build a discussion around that. You can't come up to someone, listen, I have an idea.
no?
Work like that.
Well,
I mean, if you already know each other and you have this
yeah,
kind of
indeed.
communication, then yes. But it's like someone you've met for the first time, you kind of have to
So it's a bit of a dancing birds courting each other. This is who I am. Look at where I come from.
I think so. I don't know.
It's nice.
I mean,
I think it's nice. I mean, taking
think
creativity as a couple thing, or a triple or a foursome, doesn't matter. I think it's nice. I mean, because generally, like, or historically, creativity is something that it's like very individual. To be honest, I mean, it's very. In the past, it was like the gods bring creativity to you. Then after, it was like this crazy scientist that was creative. Then slowly, and nowadays, creativity is understood as a system. So it's nice to take it like that. So for example, you also work, for example, in very different projects, and one of them was with Gali, and I have to say that that's a project that it's very different from all the rest that you have. So can you explain a bit about this project?
Yes. But before that, I want to say something about what you said as a system. I have to, I'm sorry. I was thinking also about Ella, the choreographer, and how she works. And even though she's the choreographer, it's her work. She sees everyone in her team as a collaborator, even if it's the person that does the lights. It's very much like a dance between all of them. And she had also this really nice exercise that she did with the dancers to bring them into the process. And she made them actually write monologues as objects.
Oh.
So she had like a dancer write a monologue about being a door. People pass through me. They don't see me. They just go through. And it's like really, really strong. And then that was incorporated into the show. And I think it's really amazing. That's what I wanted to say. What was your question?
No, because I was you. I mean, as we said at the beginning, you have a quite of a gestures thing, and then suddenly I saw this video with Gali, which has to do with something completely different. Even if there's a lot of gestures in it, because you can read it and it goes towards gestures, but It's a good in between then. It's a different in between, let's say.
Yeah, because I think while Billy, we work together and maybe we are more similar in our approach, Gali is she does movies, she does stop motion, she's an art director, and she's more of a visual storyteller.
Yeah.
And then we came together to work on this project that was discussing the point where East and West culture meet in the desert in Israel in the form of the train. So the train is driving through the desert, and the camel eats it, and it grows wings, and it flies away, and then the house drops, and like very, very dramatic. And the movie was made of found images from Israel from the time, mostly from Israel, but the whole thing was an installation where the viewer is part of the train. You have to work in the train to make things make sense. So you have like the call that you shuffle, and you have the bell that you ring, and you have this flap that you flap, and it's like the wings of the camel, and it really is part of your. You become part of this movie. It doesn't really exist without you. So that's how the gestures came together into that one.
Oh, now we're seeing how the camel is eating. Oh, it's so nice. The camel is eating the train right now.
There's this like thing with like rocks inside, and you pull it back and forth, and it does like sound. And
so here, this was also for a context, let's say, or it was a self-developed project.
It was commissioned for an exhibition as part of Jerusalem Design Week 2017. No, we did
16.
18 maybe, I don't know.
Yeah, I don't remember. But this was not the circus, right? So it's probably like 19 or 18, 19. So now that it's been like, so you collaborate with a lot of institutions. You said museums, you said Jerusalem Design Week. You also teach at Bezalel. You also have your work, like let's say daily work in the company. How is the design environment in your place? How is it going?
My place? What do you mean, my place?
I don't know if you want to define it as Yaffle, or define it as Tel Aviv, or define it in the bigger picture of Israel, or define it in the bigger picture of, I don't know. How do you consider your place?
I mean, it's lacking support. That's not like enough support from institutions, and like I think it's hard not to talk about the political and social issues here, and like everything becomes secondary to that.
Okay.
So design, arts, everything in that kind of sphere is not as relevant as the big issues.
Yeah, of course.
But then we have the protests, and amazing things happen there. And there's it somehow became like an outlet for performance, for art, for design. It's really nice to see.
So you think that design and arts in general, or creative practices, can be a speaker for a certain kind of values, for example? Or how do you see design in this context where it's very difficult support from institutions?
Well, I think in the context of the protests, having like a strong visual image is very, it works. We're part of this very visual culture. So we have a red line drawn through the night from the new building of Bezalel into the Supreme Court, through Jerusalem in red and pink. And like everyone's arrested, and it makes a strong impact.
Yes.
So this is like the places that I think creativity comes through. I think there are the Jerusalem Design Week and the Design Museum in Quran, and there's places that they want to create this ecosystem for art and design to take place, and it's just harder. It's always at the end about budgets, and I think I also it comes down to priorities, and um, I'm fantasizing about like creating collectives like we did here, but it's harder. I mean, it's it
But there's
the
plenty of amazing people there.
it yeah, amazing people, amazing artists,
Yeah.
and we don't come together as much as I would want, and it's part of the political atmosphere here, but I think it's also part of where we are in life and kids and not students, and it's
Definitely, everybody has different priorities now, also in your personal life. And you were saying students, and you have now a role in at Bezalel. Um, how do you see students, or how do you see your role towards the students? Like,
So I teach the lab for the final project and the master's degree in design. And I also mentor. So in that place, I see my role as a facilitator. I mean, we have the project is very much independent and comes from the student. I try to give like context and formats and these exercises that can help look at the project from different perspectives and kind of once in a while like shuffle the cards a bit and then just continue with the project. But it's like this also this delicate balance not to influence too much the way they work. And I think for master's students, it's a lot about defining their own process, not just about the project.
and so when we studied, let's say, before we met, when we were younger, let's say, I know that you had different experiences. You had an experience abroad. You had an experience actually here in Barcelona also. What do you think that design education should be? Because yours was quite international and you gained from a lot of things. So how do you see it happening? Because I think you have a valuable point. I mean, you are now a teacher. You had experience from many different, and I believe that very different educations, because I think that jewelry has nothing like, let's say, the way it's taught to what we had as a master in the social design background.
I think I actually had very similar discussion yesterday.
Nice.
Uh,
With
we
who?
were were discussing a new master's program at Bezalel. Uh, Twice. But we were trying to talk about what forms a program, and is
Yeah.
it about content, specific content, or is it about methodologies and formats? And what actually do we teach? Because I believe that, you know, technical skills you can always learn on your own. You always learn better when it's related to an actual project than like just doing something to learn it. And then at the end, it's about developing creative thinking, critical thinking, creating your own practice, your own way of doing things, your own thoughts. So it's really about creating a space, I think, more than actually teaching,
Okay.
if that makes sense.
But that's a master program, I guess. You said.
I think, well, it is the master's program, but I think it happens, you have that to a degree in the bachelor's as well. I mean, you have
Okay.
more more skills and more intro level classes, but it's also about forming your own way.
And if you would compare to a teacher, I don't need to know it or know her or know him. Who would you like to be like? Do you have like this kind of like a mentor that you had? Because at the end, it's a different a mentor and a teacher. But let's say
I had in my bachelor's, I had this teacher, Vered Kaminsky. She's amazing jewelry maker. And she is very, very humble. She's like internationally known and she's super talented and she's very humble and she uses very few words. So in conversation with her, I learned so much, but we talked like very little. So
do you see yourself like that? I don't see you like that.
oh no, not at all. Yeah, I don't know when it happened. I don't think I used to talk this much, but now I do.
You're getting old, Diane. Then you start talking like like crazy. I have to say that since I met you, I think that probably like if some of our friends are listening to this, they will agree with me that you're like a very warm person and you're very welcoming, and by that you get closer to people in a very nice way. Um, and I think that your design process is very much like that, at least as far as how I saw it. Maybe now you changed and now you're like, and I'm saying that because as we said at the beginning, now you're working as the head of design at Nick Academy, and basically what you're working is working with kids mostly, part of it, and you work for kids. So how does that relate to your process, and do you think that that gives you a certain kind of what kind of experience does it bring you to?
I think working with kids is very humbling because they do not bullshit. They say the truth and it's like very clear and it's amazing to see. I think like I think probably I mean originally I think I was a shy person and now I'm still shy with kids even though I have to,
Yes.
but it's because I feel like they can see through you and through what you do. So that's amazing. That's like something I'm working through, but it's really nice to see how they react, and it's always surprising. And we had like this play test, and there's an interaction with this robot in the app that they press a button and builds a robot. And I asked this girl, what did you like and what didn't you like? And she said, I didn't like building the robot. And I asked her why, and she said, because I didn't do it. And it was like very, very clear that it was lacking agency. It's like
Yeah.
we didn't give her enough credit to do it herself. So
Nice.
that's
I don't. Yeah. I had a very little experience with kids, and they are overwhelming. I cannot deal with them. I think that it's it's something that it's. So when you work with people, kids are, yeah, they have too much energy, too much. I think it's interesting because it's often said that when we grow old, we lose the fun and we lose the creativity. Do you think that that is also true?
no, not yet, not yet at least.
But you're like a big kid. It's not fair to compare it to you. Maybe like in a general way.
Still no. I mean, it depends what you do, and I mean, it's true that I somehow kind of changed my line of work every couple of years. So there's like the gestures that goes through everything, but every couple of years I did something a bit different. So it keeps me I guess more on my feet. But and also working with kids and having kids, I think you have to think like them. It's fun to think like them.
I have to work on that. I have to work on that. That is not happening.
This conversation.
Indeed. So, with all the experiences that you have, let's say, what role do you think that creativity plays in all of them? It's a center role, or it's just like part of the process? It's how do you see it?
I think it is very central, but also there's like this other part of the reflective or the analysis, or like doing something and examining it and doing it again. And it's always like between these two mindsets.
And which part do you enjoy most?
Well, they have to come together. They have to.
Yeah, but I don't like analysis. So
No, but it's not really analysis, because like this conversation I had with this girl, it came after a design process, and then from her like this small sentence, we started looking at what we can do to create a different experience, and so it's always between the two.
okay.
Maybe analysis is too technical a word, but
No, no, no. I mean, I do think. I mean, to be honest, I think that creativity is not only the part of where you create, and if there's not the analysis, there's not the full cycle of creativity. But I think that at least in my case, creativity is more an outburst, let's say. So it comes to outside, and the analysis is where the moment I just pull the thread back, so to speak.
and then after the analysis, what comes, another outburst, or it's a different form of
Generally, it
creativity?
stays there, and then the project is not going anywhere anymore because I'm.
No, but that's not true. That's
No,
not
it's
true.
not true. It's not true. I don't know. I don't know. Generally,
Always have
I
an
guess that it
experience
goes with
process.
outburst. So it goes with like maybe like having an outburst, then collecting, and then another outburst, and they are not very symmetrical or not very like I don't know how to explain it, but they just come in when they want. It's not really that I control them fully. So that's why I like very much the framework that you put on when do you think that it's creativity, because for me when I'm in the discussion I have the ability to reflect and to listen to what other people are saying without the need, and then I can outburst for a second. So I think that it is a very good a very good context, but creativity for me it comes from somewhere that I cannot recognize still, and that's why it's interesting to study it actually somehow.
Yeah.
And I think that it's almost an hour, so I want to ask you one more question.
We
And
didn't talk about food that much.
yeah, that's why I
Hello.
wanted to go to talk about food.
Okay.
And the question is so as we said before, so we met in 2012. At 2014, we created a collective after being cooking for a year, living together. The collective was formed in a barbecue. You are doing projects with couscous. What's coming next? A food. What is the next food thing that will come, Aya? You
I
know?
don't know.
I
Maybe
thought that I was like, I'm going to say something that I should not.
no. I think that's like this is our next conversation.
Okay.
Where do our practices meet again, finally?
I told you like that we should do something with flour and Mediterranean culture of flour, because I think that it has a lot of implications, and I think it's quite nice. All the
Flour like bread flour, not flour.
yeah, like flour like bread flour. Yeah. Flour like bread flour, because I still have the sourdough that Nadav gave me. I still fit it. I think also flour has a lot of political implications on a lot of things, and it's quite interesting. And I think that it's Mediterranean people, which we consider ourselves, they have a long tradition of eating like flour eating. I mean, I think that I never seen so many people eating bread like in Spain. Like they eat bread for everything.
But do you have things that you do from semolina?
No, that's the thing.
Interesting.
Yeah, but for us, like, I mean, maybe we have some things, right? Because maybe in the south there's, I don't know. To be honest, I don't know.
Also sweets from semolina flour, like
I mean, we
cakes
have a
and
lot of the Arabic tradition, so I'm sure that there's plenty of semolina happening there. But I'm not sure that at least it's not part of my personal tradition. That's the first time I saw semolina was with you, I think.
Mm.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't think so. I don't think so. And where do we present this project, Aya?
It's a good question.
I mean, there's Barcelona Design Week. I think that it happens once a year. So I'm just saying.
Okay, when is it?
I'm not very sure. I think it's in July, but I'm not very sure. I'm not.
You're not coming to Jerusalem Design Week this year.
No, I don't. No, no, I don't think so. I didn't even try actually. Um, a friend of mine, I suggested it, and she had an amazing project, and she applied for it, but she was not selected. But no, this year, no. I mean, last year I came. I mean, let's. I came twice last year for Jerusalem Design Week and for Noga Gallery. I think that it's fair enough to stay a year more indoors.
Yes, for
And
sure. Next time I come to visit.
That's for sure.
So next project, Barcelona.
Yeah, I think that once you ask me about the context in Barcelona design, we will have a different conversation. But let me ask you the last. So I'm doing this. This is a random idea of talking with friends. Who should I invite?
Not really random. It's not really random.
It's not really random. It's not really random. Let's accept it. But who do you think I should invite?
Not from our group of friends, you mean?
I mean, if it's from our group of friends, let's make sure that it's not somebody that I already asked. Or who do you think it will be interesting to? Who do you think that it will be interesting to ask?
That's a really tough question. I mean everyone. I want a whole meeting of everyone together. Can you do that?
We can do that. Definitely, we can do that. I mean, it's a lot of people, but
So I think we should bring everyone together to one place and do something with flour.
Okay, I'll put it down. I think that they should come all to Barcelona.
I'm in.
It will be very nice. I mean, you can ask Rafael tomorrow. He will be here because Rafael is tomorrow, and then no, Lucas is tomorrow at 6, and Rafael is on Thursday. So we can ask Rafael if he is willing to do a project in flour. Okay, so it's an hour. I think it's good enough, Noaya. You talked enough. Are you okay? How did you feel it? You want to kill me already?
I'll survive.
I'll survive.
No, it was really, really nice talking to you, even if it's filmed and stuff. But it's always really good to catch up.
Yeah, it's nice. That's why partly this is made. So, and if you want to come back one day, just do it.
October, I'm planning to come.
Yeah. I hope so. I keep pushing. So I hope I'll see you in Barcelona next time. To the people that is watching, thank you very much for seeing this today. This is the first of hopefully a lot. And yeah, tomorrow we will have Lucas, Aya, which also of course you know a lot. Maybe you want to ask, that's something that I want to do. You want to ask Lucas something, and we finish with this.
If I want to ask Lucas something, I was just, like winding down from this.
Yes.
I'll write you something by tomorrow to ask him, okay?
Come on, no! Everybody's waiting to hear it. No.
Everybody, how many people are watching?
No worries. Write me something. Yeah? It doesn't have to be very intellectual.
Okay. I will think of something.
Say goodbye to everybody. Take good care, Aya. Hugs to Nada, to everybody. Take care. Doei doei.
Bye.